Hi there again, it's Rozzy D along with Michael Forsyth, and again you're listening to WQAT FM 99.5, the radio station of Allen Temple A.M.E Church, the downtown church in Greenville. Hey, did you listen to Reverend Speed's sermon this morning? If this is your first time listening to WQAT, Reverend Speed is a pastor of Allen Temple A.M.E Church, and every Sunday, Reverend Speed delivers an awesome message to our congregants and to our listeners in person or virtually. Today, Reverend Speed spoke about some great things there today, and it was a great blessing to hear Reverend Speed. He spoke about how we, the church, have to serve in the present age, meaning we as a church must not get stuck and not be able to move. Therefore, we must not abandon things that work for us. We must trust in God. We must trust in our leaders and and our leaders have mentors so that they can be godly and effective leaders, and our leaders must have the support of the masses. Now, Reverend Speed uses the example of Joshua and Caleb from Joshua chapter 1, verses 1 through 3 as an example of moving with the changing of time when Moses died and the reins of leadership was turned over to Joshua. And in doing so let's just remember to never get stuck so that you will not be able to so that you don't get left behind. I know sometimes things seem insurmountable, but God will see you through any Jordan that you have to cross. So let's just keep that in mind. And again, Reverend Speed's sermons are always right on time, and I thank him for delivering such a wonderful sermon this morning. His sermons are always awesome, thought-provoking, and inspiring. So thanks again, Reverend Speed. And if you missed out on today's service, you can catch the Sunday service for Allen Temple A.M.E Church every Sunday on the church's Facebook live feed at 11 a.m. And you can also go to the YouTube site and see some of the past sermons. All right. Coming up in about 4 or 5 minutes, we will hear from our local spoken word artist, rapper, and educator, Doub Dupree. So stay tuned to hear that. He is an awesome talent, and his performance is just through the roof here. Again, I'm Rozzy D, along with Michael Forsyth, so please stay tuned for more music, commentary, and information here on WQAT. Hi there, I'm Rozzy D, and you are listening to WQAT-LP FM 99.5, the radio station of Allen Temple A.M.E Church, the downtown church in Greenville, South Carolina. Today, our guest will feature spoken word artist, rapper, and educator, Dove Dupree.
This is Michael Forsyth on WQAT, the radio station of Allen Temple A.M.E, the downtown church in Greenville, South Carolina. Our guest today is Doub Dupree, a spoken word artist, songwriter, rapper, actor, educator, and entrepreneur. Thank you for joining us, Doub Dupree.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
Well, I understand you first got into poetry and songwriting in elementary school. Can you tell listeners about that?
Well, yeah, I've been writing for a very long time. Since a kid, growing up listening to music and hip hop, it just grew on me for a very long time. And I just remember as a kid, even kind of incorporating some things into my writings as a kid. I remember we had to do a poem when I was second grade or third grade, but I was just really into it. I tried to make mine so much more creative and I don't know. It was just so the bug caught on me when I was really young, and I just never let it
die. Well, can you tell us what formal training have you had in the performing arts, and how did that help you?
Formal training. Well, I mean, in terms of acting, I think taking acting classes helped me as a performer, definitely. I was in some church plays when I was a kid, and then high school I was in the Cinderella musical, and then I just, decided and felt that I was going to pursue acting and be an actor as well as a performer. And so I went to Gardner-Webb University in Shelby, or Boiling Springs, North Carolina, go Bulldogs. And I started my theater classes there, and I got a lot of theater experience there, doing different shows, different performances, and things like that. And I definitely attribute a lot of where I am now in terms of performance-wise to that, because it taught me how to project, it taught me how to perform, it taught me how to get into character, it taught me how to, go back to the moment, of, when I started creating them. It taught me to bring the piece to life, and those techniques, they still help me. I still use those things today when I'm writing and when I'm performing.
Mm. Well, can you tell me what poets or lyricists have inspired you?
Poets and lyricists. Well, I mean, I feel like if you're thinking of poetry, you have to go to the greats like, Giovanni, and even Common. Like, I even started to see Common as a good artist, because, he did hip-hop and he also did poetry. But when I was growing up, particularly hip-hop, because I started rapping first before I got into poetry. And I would just take my raps and slow them down when I would perform them at, like, my college or my church or different places like that. I would just take a rap that I wrote and just slow it down and, kind of call it poetry or spoken word or dynamic poetry or dramatic poetry or whatever I called it at the time. But definitely as a kid, growing up listening to hip-hop, favorite artists were probably Puff Daddy, and then, I kind of got older, and then it was Kanye West and Lil Bow Wow and Jermaine Dupri and those kind of guys. Just as a even Will Smith, I like Will Smith because he was he was clean, but he was still he was still talented and goofy and things like that. So I definitely looked up to those guys coming up.
That's really interesting. Well, let's treat listeners to a sample of your work. And I'd like them to hear a piece that you did that I think is really wonderful called Persevere. Just awesome. Well, can you take us through your creative process? That is, where does the idea for a poem come from, and how do you develop that into a performance piece?
Well, a lot of my poems, some people I know, they write really, really fast. They have a fast process. They can just think of something and immediately write it down, and it just becomes a poem, 20 minutes later, and they're all happy. For me, it doesn't normally work like that. It doesn't normally work like that. I have pieces that have taken me a while to write. I have one piece in particular that just took me 3 years to write. At that time, I wasn't an avid writer of writing things down. Like, it kind of came to my head, and I kind of, as I felt comfortable, I kind of composed it in my head over the course of time. And so, as far as the creative process, a lot of times I'm definitely inspired by things. So I may be, overhearing a conversation that somebody's having, or watching TV, or, acting, or doing something, and something, the word they call now is triggers. They say triggers. So something triggers me, or I think of something, and I'm like, oh, snap. Either I'm angry at something, or like, why would they say that to them, or why would they do that? Or something is like, wow, I wonder if you guys thought about that in this perspective. And so a lot of times my inspiration happens via getting triggered or getting prompted into something, and I would write it down, and I would write the idea down, I would write the thoughts down, and normally it's not done. Normally it's just a draft. It's just something to, throw up on a page and just kind of get out there. And as the piece, takes on my heart more and tugs on me, I start to gravitate towards those pieces more and then start to finish those pieces. I'll pull those pieces back up and like, I just thought about something else today, and start to finish it and start to, go to it more and start to write more until the final process is finally done. I have a piece now that I actually started writing in 2014. I feel like when I officially came to the South Carolina poetry scene, it was around 2014, and I started writing this piece called "The Equation for Love," and I never finished it. And it was like every year, I kind of added something, but I just kind of let the piece speak to me. And if I didn't have enough to finish it, then I just didn't finish it. But now there's a poetry slam coming up August 22nd at the Radio Room. It's called the Fresh Out the Oven Slam. And every year, Wits in Poetry, under Kimberly Sims, they host it's basically a new poem slam. So all the poems and all the pieces that you do, they have to be brand new. They have to be, you couldn't have done them anywhere before. They have to be brand new. And so I'm finally finishing this piece from 2014 and going to, present it, as a new piece. And so all that to say, a lot of my pieces, they definitely come from inspiration of, random life happening, random things happening, conversations, movies, anything. And I jot them down, I write them in a draft, and as life comes to me, I go ahead and eventually complete them.
I'd like listeners to hear another piece that you did, a wonderful piece called Lemons. Magnificent, and it's even better if you see it on stage, see your movements as you perform the poetry piece. Well, you're talking about poetry slams. I know that you've been a star member of Greenville's own poetry slam team. Can you tell us about that team and what those competitions are like?
Oh yeah, so super fun. So every year, you get to try out for the slam team, and so like throughout the year, you have to do slams, smaller slams, that kind of give you points to qualify for the bigger slam. So by the time the bigger slam happens, which is always in, I think, January, you have enough points. The top, I think, 12 poets, they, accumulate enough points, whoever the top 12 are, whether you get points by, participating in a slam, you get points by how, what place you come in a slam and how, slams you win. And so the top 12, they get to compete to see who's going to be on the team that year. And, so it's always the top 4 because there's a slam coach, and then there's the top 4 who end up joining and forming the new team for the year. And the past, since I've been on the scene and since I've been slamming for the team, I've been able to, land a spot in the top 4 each year, which is definitely an honor and a privilege that I'm super grateful for. Because, what we get to do is we get to go out and we go out to compete against other teams. And there's 2 major poetry slams that happen every year. Well, now one, because the other one has been discontinued. But, one's nationals, like the National Poetry Slam, and one's Southern Fried Poetry Slam, which is a regional, the largest regional poetry slam in the South that happens every year. And so what it looks like is each team coming from, wherever city, whatever state you're from. So, we're in Greenville, South Carolina. There's teams from, Texas, and Georgia, and Atlanta, and Florida. It's mostly southern states, but it's still welcome for northern states to, any other state to come too, but it's just mainly southern states because that's where the slams are. And so the conference is a week long, and it's normally in June, like the second or third week in June, and it's always at it rotates, I think, 4 or 5 different cities. I don't know how they came up with that, but it rotates 4 or 5 different cities. I think the last year it was in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and the year before that it might have been in Greensboro or Atlanta or, something like that. But so different teams, we go out and we compete against each other during this week. And it's super fun because it's normally about, it's kind of like a Monday through Saturday kind of thing, Tuesday through Saturday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday are normally the bouts. So it's your team versus generally 3 or 4 other teams. And, you got to rank number 1 in order to get a really good spot so that you can land well on final stage. So you only get 3 bouts, and they use the first 4 days, the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, to qualify you to see how your team does, if you're going to rank number 1 that day, 2 that day, and things like that. And after Friday, they give all the scores. They do all the scores even the day of. So at the end of the bouts, everybody's kind of waiting, and this normally drops like at midnight or, at 2 o'clock in the morning. So everybody's just kind of up waiting for the scores. And then, you get your ranking on, how you did. And if you're keeping score during the slam competitions, everybody knows the score. You know how you did. But this is to know how you did amongst the other teams that you also didn't see, because they added your score for this day and then the next day and everyone else's score and things like that. And so those are the first 3 or 4 days. And then Saturday is final stage. So Saturday is the final 4 teams. And so all the teams that go, it's normally 32 teams from wherever, and there could be a couple different teams from different cities. Like there could be, if there's enough, there could be virtually 2 Florida teams, because there was actually one year there were 3 South Carolina teams. We had Greenville, South Carolina, and then we had Spartanburg, and then we had, more. We just had more people to slam that year, so we ended up having 3 teams one year. And so, we go out, and Saturday is the day of the final stage. So it's the final 4 teams, it's the top 4 teams out of 32 teams. And they compete, and there's normally prizes. It's about, $6,000 worth of prizes, first place, second place, third place. It's just a good time. I think it's a great time because it's more of a family reunion than a competition, because it's, your fellow poetry brothers and sisters. And most of the day, you guys are, at the hotel, because, you all link up at a hotel. And, you're at the pool or at, poetry workshops, or just, in the lobby, in each other's rooms, just cutting up, laughing and having a good time. And then it's okay, but tonight, we're definitely going to stomp on y'all tonight, it's that kind of thing. And so, it's a super fun time, and I look forward to it every year. I think 2 years ago, obviously, COVID happened, and, you get to choose on whether or not you're trying to compete in the next slam for the team or not. And so, it's just great fun. It's great fun.
Let's hear another piece. Well, that was just awesome, and it certainly captures how a lot of us felt about this last year and being hopeful about the future. Well, I know there was poetry slams at the Coffee Underground pre-COVID. Have those resumed? And you mentioned the radio room. Where can people go and hear you and other spoken word artists in Greenville?
So they've resumed open mics back at Coffee Underground again, but the slams are at the radio room, and the reason why is because Coffee Underground, it's a smaller space, it's more intimate, and so in the light of COVID, I think they're just trying to be more socially aware, and the radio room just has a lot more space. So I guess for breathing opportunities, it's just a bigger space to hold the slams in. Because a lot of times the slams are, packed. Everybody wants to come and see the slam and see, who's going to win and who's going to perform and things like that. And so a lot of times the slams are packed. And so slams are at the radio room, and I think they are right now the third Sundays of every month. It used to be the fourth Sunday of every month at Coffee Underground, but I think at Radio Room I think it's the third Sunday now. But don't quote me on that date specifically. The next slam is August 22nd, and would that be the third or the fourth? See, so now we're getting confused.
Well, that's all right. This is what the internet is for. People figure it out, but at least they know those two places to look up.
Yeah.
Well, you're working in music as well. I've read an article that described you as one of the top lyricists in the Southeast. So are you performing as a rapper? Do you collaborate with musicians? Or what are you doing exactly?
So I would definitely consider myself as a lyricist. I think writing today has definitely lost its steam because of the mainstream and the ability to just kind of put out, just put out songs and it just be more for the vibe as opposed to for the lyricism, for the work, for the body of art. And so I appreciate myself, being able to, I'm understanding trends, and I'm understanding, sometimes you have to, you don't want to get lost in the sauce, as they say, trying to be the old cat, trying to keep the old thing. But I think there's a balance of finding your voice, understanding who you are, and trying new things. And so for me as an artist, I definitely avert back to lyricism as opposed to, just a hot beat. And so I have a friend, his name is Daryl Maurice. We were in gospel choir together back in college, and that man has a beautiful voice, and he sings really, really well. He's a good songwriter. We just kind of decided to, collaborate a lot and join forces. We're actually working on an EP right now, and so that we can find some places to tour. We can find some churches. We can find some some schools wherever we can and tour and just get out some good music. I think we're a good combination, a good duo, and I think we're going to just. We got a great sound, and I want people to hear about it. So I would definitely love to collaborate with more people, and just as long as we have at least the same goal on that specific song, because I don't want to. I think as an artist, it's like be careful who you collaborate with, because you don't, perception is everything, and people are like, okay, well, if we see you over here with them, then we're going to assume you're over here and you're doing this and things like that. And so I try to be mindful of that without being super restricting myself of opportunities, because, opportunities are still opportunities, and you can still be in the midst of wolves and still be able to hold your ground wherever you are, if you are a person of integrity. And so that's where I am. I'm down to collaborate with anybody and any genres. I'm definitely trying to try my hand in songwriting for more genres, because I do rap, but I also write songs, because I don't have the golden voice like my friend Daryl Maurice has the golden voice. He has the golden voice. I'm more like I can sing in a choir with a group of other people. But not the soloist to, shut it down and serenade the whole world, and that's definitely him. So I'm writing some songs, and I'm getting him to sing it, and I'm trying to see other people, sing some of these songs, and just trying to spread spread some good news, because I think when it comes to music, people, specifically the youth, specifically kids, it's therapy for a lot of people, and kids definitely look up to it, and kids are definitely hooked on it.
Well, let's hear an example of your work that incorporates music. This is a recording of a piece that you did titled, "It's Gonna Be Alright." A lot of your work is really uplifting and spiritual. Let's hear a piece that you've done called "Oh Praise the Name."
Shall return in robes of white, the blazing sun shall pierce the night, then I will rise among the saints, my gaze transfixed on Jesus' face. Born from the dust and the dirt, soon to be the beauty and the jewel of the earth, pure, just like a good invention, made with the best intentions, envy of all creation. We were made in his image, breathe into his nostrils, creation at its finest. Who needs the commandments when you were made righteous? Ocean so deep he made mountains the highest. But what other creation could say they're made in his likeness? Who is this? It's humankind. Purest relationship you'll ever find, until something came to deceive us, said that we could be wise, said that this whole time we've been sitting here blind. He said you couldn't do what? You really want to know why? You think it's because he loves you? The guy that you love lied. What's he really keeping from you? Said that you'll surely die. Why don't you take a bite? This will open up your eyes. And it did. Now with eyes wide open, the lens of the innocence is now broken. Disobeyed the word that was spoken. Yes, we were deceived, but we still chose it. Who told you you were naked? Tell me why you were hiding. Did you go bite the fruit? After I said don't bite it, I said it was forbidden. It wasn't for the sake of a threat. It was for your sake, so you wouldn't know death. Now you do. Now that's all that we do. We sin like we're trying to show God he's a fool to think we could ever be grateful. You had to know the people you created would turn around and betray you. Listening to a serpent, knowing too well we shouldn't. Instead of being the leader, bite a fruit and blame the woman. Kill your brother, leave the body, and you say you're not his keeper. Get a man's wife pregnant, then kill the husband in secret. Then you sent a flood to the earth to restart what you made from the dirt. But God, I know that it hurts, because it really seems like we came back worse. Then you gave us commandments, knowing we won't be faithful. Gave us the rules, and we turn around and break them. Wow. So much for creation, made in your image, but are we still your favorite? How far we've fallen from grace. Nothing left now but to fall on our face, repent from our ways, try to turn back time. We were in paradise, but it all was replaced like that, just like that. But tell me there's a way we can get that back. Tell me there's a way to restart, get us back from the dark, put us back at your heart where we used to be at. Cause if a flood can't cleanse us, then what can? And if I still got dirt, tell me what chance do I have on the day of the wrath when I stand before God? Can somebody tell me what then? What sacrifice could I come with? All I could say is nothing. Not a thing I could say that could save me. Just stand there and wait for my judgment. But I heard there was one man that came to fulfill God's plan and to tell the whole world there's no way you can save yourself from your sin, but the Son can. I said I heard there was one man that with his blood he can do what a flood can't, that can see every single transgression that you have, still look you in the face and say, what sin? What sin? What flaw? What past? What scar? What grave? What law? I'll take them all. What price? What cost? Everything was left on that cross. So you doubt. What for? Your sins were many, but God came down to redeem us. Sent a Savior and named him Jesus. Said he's gonna die, but he's coming back and he'll bring us life if we just believe it. But when he died, it looked like there was no hope, because for days the Messiah was a no-show. Like, how'd you make it out the tomb? It was closed though. See, the devil thought he had him, but he rose though. He rose though. My God rose though. But why he bled there for me, I just don't know. But he did, and his love is amazing. So the only thing left is to praise him. But it's crazy because we didn't see. Some of us act like we still don't believe. But geez, the king was hung from a tree. How much blood could he bleed? How much proof could you need? But it's blindness of the heart. It's not in the eyes. We could have been there for the healing of the blind and see the sea split, but we still would deny. Still see the tomb and say that's not true. Like, show another miracle, cause this is not proof. But Jesus, my stock is in you. If you did not raise, I'll gladly die the fool. I'll be the laughing stock, the butt of the joke. They linger on science, I linger on hope. I linger on faith. You took the curse from me. They bet their life, I bet my eternity. That you are who you say you are. And your tomb was vacant. Cause if you died, that's only a funeral. But because you rose, it's a celebration. So this is not a threat, it's an invitation. It's not a have to, it's a get to believe that he came to redeem us for forever the way we were meant to. So I look at the tomb and I say he has risen indeed. So tell me, do you believe? Then lift your voice and sing.
Oh, praise the name of the Lord our God. Oh, praise his name forever, Lord. For endless days we will sing your praise. Oh, praise his name, yes we will. Oh, praise the name of the Lord our God. Oh, praise his name forever, Lord. For endless days we will sing your praise. Oh, Lord our God, he is our Lord. Oh, Lord our God. Yes, we worship you, Jesus. You are our King, Jesus. We love you, Lord.
Let me ask you this. I know you were you're doing some teaching as well at the middle school level. What are the main things you try and help kids understand about writing poetry?
Yeah, so I've worked with kids for quite a while. I used to work at an elementary school, East North Street Academy, for almost 5 years, and I think it's just my love for the youth. You know, I just want them to do good. I just love seeing them, you know, happy and you know, in good hands and striving and things like that. And so, I mean, I always come back for a different reason, whether it's like an after-school program I used to work at or, you know, different things, different places, just to, I don't know why. I can't, you know, it's like I can't really just kind of let it be. But when it comes to teaching, you know, I teach in different aspects. Sometimes I teach enrichment classes. You know, a couple different classes. I'm a smart arts teacher as well, which means that I can go into elementary schools and middle schools, and teach them I can teach them different aspects of what my art is, and combine what my art is with what they are learning, to help make the learning experience a lot more fun for them. And so last year, I had a class where they were learning about the shadows of the moon and planets and different things like that. And so I was able to incorporate music with learning vocabulary words. And so we were able to come up with a music video and a rap and a song, and get the kids all involved in it and singing and rapping in it. And it was great for them because they were able to engage, and they were able to still understand the planets, still understand, all the facts and the vocabulary that they needed to know. But there was definitely a fun way of doing it. They were able to do so with the music video, and I put my green screen in and got the kids involved to rap, and so it was great. So that was a good time.
I am sure. Well, I understand you've done some acting as well, including film work. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've done some things. I feel like, great accomplishments. I was in a commercial for, it's called the Kid A. It's a carbon monoxide alarm system, but that it was a national commercial. I did the commercial. I think it was about almost 2 years ago now, and I just had a friend shoot me a message on Facebook and was like, I could be really crazy right now, but I could have sworn I just saw you on TV. I'm pretty sure I just saw you on TV. And I was like, possibly. I was in the commercial over there. And then I had another friend send me a message and be like, did you do a commercial? Because I'm watching TV and I just saw you on TV. And then I had a third friend. So it was a friend in Los Angeles, a friend in Seattle, and a friend in Washington. All message me and say, I just saw you on TV. That was probably like the pinnacle of, it was just great. It was just like, yeah, you did, you saw me. Yeah, you did. No, it was just kind of fun because, it's kind of like as an actor, that's the beginning, obviously, but those are the kind of things that you really want to happen as people start to see you elsewhere. And like I said, it's just the beginning. More opportunities will come as I pursue them. I was teaching some acting actually a couple of weeks ago. I was doing a class, theater star versus film star, basically teaching them this difference between acting for the camera, acting for, theater. And I was teaching some of the kids, and they were talking about, like, hey, are you famous yet? And blah, 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 because some of them want to be actors, and, like, how long does it take to be famous? And it's like, it takes a long time to get discovered. A lot of the artists and a lot of the actors that, people see, it's like, they're not new.
No,
like they're definitely not new. You are new to them. And one of my favorite examples is Kevin Hart. A lot of people, even now, they still feel like Kevin Hart is this new actor that just kind of basically came on the scene. And it's like, guys, Kevin Hart has been doing things since before you guys are even born. It's like I can name movies that came out with Kevin Hart in it before you even, were two, that kind of thing. And it's just like acting is such a process. It just takes a long, long time of dedication and things like that. And so I've been able to, work my hand and trying to do some things. I was in a couple of films in Colombia by a director, and he submitted it to a few film festivals, and he just is good with getting the word out about I think about promotion in general for the films that he does, because it's just being submitted to all these film festivals and people are rating it and things like that. And so it's cool. So I've been in some indie productions. I've been in some solo productions, some YouTube productions, some audio, did some audio recordings. There's one for Southern Westland that I kind of forgot about, Southern Westland University, that I did years ago. And I had another friend that was like, I know your voice, and I could have sworn I just heard you on this commercial on TV, the audio. Like I can't be sure, but did you do it? You know, and that's, I don't know. It's just kind of a fun thing too.
Yes, but I have a feeling that great things are ahead for you. So, where can listeners find your work? I know you have some stuff on YouTube. Where's the best way for them to find your work?
So I have a website that's actually being built right now. I actually have somebody that's actually building my website right now. For the meantime, it's definitely Dove Dupree on YouTube. So you can go on YouTube, you can go to Doub Dupree. But I also have things on Spotify, iTunes, and Apple Music. So basically all major platforms, it's Doub Dupree and Doub Dupree Music that you can find all my things at. And so if anyone was looking and they wanted to know, Dove Dupree, and I'm definitely coming out with a lot more. I turned a new wind this time around, and so I'm able to put out more quality productions than I have, before working as an indie artist. And I'm super proud and happy to be where I am right now. So Dove Dupree Music on iTunes, IG, Facebook. That's my handle for all my social media as well.
Great. Well, Dove, thank you so much for sharing your work and your story with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me today.
You've been listening to our interview with spoken word artist Dove Dupree. This is Michael Forsyth on WQAT, the radio station of Allen Temple A.M.E., the downtown church in Greenville, South Carolina.
You have just listened to spoken word artist, rapper, and educator Dove Dupree. For more information about Dove Dupree and his work, you can find his work online on YouTube and follow his Facebook page at Dove Dupree Music. Again, I'm Rozzy D. Please stay tuned for more music, information, and commentary here on WQAT. Hello there again. It's Rozzy D along with Michael Forsyth, and you are listening to WQAT-LP FM 99.5. We are the radio station of Allen Temple A.M.E. Church, the downtown church in Greenville, South Carolina. Again, I want to thank spoken word artist, rapper, and educator Doub Dupree for being a part of today's show and granting Michael Forsyth the interview. And I love your story. Thank you so much for sharing it, Doub. It really is a wonderful blessing to have some of the most awesome talent here in Greenville, Michael. And for more information about Doub Dupree, you can visit the website at doubdupreemusic.com. So, of course, it's that time. I want to have a brief discussion about our guest today. So let's briefly talk about what spoken word poetry is. I'm going to give you a brief introduction of what spoken word poetry is if you are not familiar what it is. It is awesome, I can tell you that much. So spoken word poetry is an oral poetic performance based mainly on the poem as well as the performer's aesthetic qualities. So now that we have established what spoken word poetry is, let's kind of circle back to the word of the day, which is chiasmus. And chiasmus is chiasmus is a device in poetry or oration in which words are repeated with the order reversed. For example, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Or something like this: you have seen how a man was made a slave, you shall see how a slave was made a man. So chiasmus is spelled Chiasmus, and again it's derived from the Greek word chiasmos, which means arranging crosswise. All right, so our guest today, Dove Dupree, is a spoken word artist who puts his feelings into words with poetry. So the question is, does it help you deal with your feelings to put things down in writing? Have you ever used writing or poetry to process emotions you couldn't deal with any other way? And in the Bible, Job talks about how he wishes his emotional words could be recorded forever. So, Michael, what do you think about those questions?
Boy, well, my My night job is writing novels, so I would say that most definitely um, writing has been a way for me to, I think, process a lot of things that come at me in life. So, when I wrote one of my earliest novels was a love story set in ancient Africa, and there are giant battles and all sorts of things going on in this very distant civilization. But I know I used to process a lot of the things that happened in my own love life, the different trials and tribulations and ups and downs. So I know that for me personally, it has been that. And I know that this thing of the power of writing things down. And I was talking to my daughter, who was having a little bit of difficulty with, I guess, ruminating about ideas. Different things would come into her mind. Maybe something she had an issue with, a problem, something she felt guilty or sad about or angry about, and she could not know really how to get those things out of her head. And I said that one of the things that I'd heard of was the idea of writing a thought down and then sticking it in a drawer. You write it down and stick it in a drawer, and it's a simple thing, but it's a way people can get an idea in their head. It's a very primal thing. It's almost like, in witchcraft, they talk about like binding something, like he bound a demon to a jar. Now he can't get out. It's a very powerful thing, writing.
Writing is very powerful because I love to write as well. I don't write as often as I should, but when I do write, I like to just let my thoughts just flow first. I'll write everything down. I don't care how grammatically correct it is. I'll just write and then just go back and clean it up later, because that is when I really find my true emotions and how to arrange them so that I can convey whatever message it is that I want to say. So writing really helps me a lot. And a lot of times too, when I have dreams, I have dreams sometimes that are kind of out of this world, and I'll write them down, right? And then I'll come back to them later. I had this dream one time. I don't know if dreams or premonitions or whatever, but I had this one dream that it was really weird. I was sitting somewhere. I think it was an airport or whatever, and a plane crashed. And then I'm like, wow, what did that mean? So I kept, I was going to go somewhere, and I got sick. I'm like, okay, I couldn't go. It was something really important where I needed to be, and I could not get up out of the bed because I was just so sick for that one day. And come to find out, I was going to ride with some friends in a car, and the tire blew out and went,
oh my goodness.
And it crashed. So I thought back to what I wrote down, and I read it. I'm like, was this like a premonition or something? But
goodness.
Yeah,
that's some Final Destination
exactly
stuff
right.
going
So
on.
I guess that was me. I couldn't go on that trip because maybe who knows? It was a premonition from God. Don't go. So I love to write things down. So yes, writing down things is very great. So I guess writing does help you deal with emotions. When you write your stories, Michael, a lot of those characters, are they based on some things that you may have experienced, or how does that go when you write and you get that flow going?
Well, it's so funny that connection between writing and dreams, and the way things that you experience in life are sometimes they resurface in dreams, but masked in different ways. Sometimes it's not so obvious. And so, one of my novels was about a werewolf on a college campus. And number one, I drew a lot for the atmosphere of the story upon things that literally took place in college. But then some of those issues, the werewolf has a lot to do with the ideas of repressed emotions and things coming to the surface. And so, I would say that a lot of the emotional things that I was dealing with at the time I was in college, and then the time I was writing the books, they kind of resurfaced in disguised ways in this horror novel.
Wow, okay. So maybe those premonitions are real. Who knows? But in the Bible, as I said earlier, Job talked about how he wishes his emotional words could be recorded forever. And this is mentioned in Job 19, and in verses 23 through 27, where Job says, oh, that my words were recorded, that they were written on a scroll, that they were inscribed with an iron tool on lead, or engraved in rock forever. I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand on earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. I myself will see him with my own eyes, I and not another. How my heart yearns within me. That is beautiful. Well, Dove is one of the many talented artists in the area, which brings me to mention a place where you can see local art display their work, and that place is Upcountry History Museum. Have you ever been there before, Michael?
I think I've been there just once for some kind of event. I think a lot of people are not aware of it.
They're not aware of it. I just recently discovered it, and I particularly like an exhibit that's currently on exhibit there, and I think it'll be there until September 4th. That is entitled Social Fabric, and I would highly recommend any art enthusiast to visit this local spot as well, because they have some really great art in there that you can take a look at. And I believe, can you purchase some of those things in there? I don't remember, but it's really a great place to go and see some great work from local artists. So take advantage of all the talent in the area and support local artists like Doub Dupree, and visit local museums when possible to experience some of the talent in the area, because Greenville is full of talent. So embrace it. Hi again, it's Rozzy D along with Michael Forsyth, and you're listening to WQAT-LP FM 99.5. We are the radio station of Allen Temple A.M.E. Church. We are the downtown church in Greenville, South Carolina. And again, I want to thank Dora Evans, who is the Director of Christian Education at Allen Temple A.M.E. Church, for being a part of today's show. Thank you so much, my beloved Dora. So, Michael, we've got lots of things to talk about here. We're kind of winding down here, but let's have a brief discussion about education, which brings us to several topics. And the main topic of discussion is the coronavirus, which is kind of getting out of hand again due to low vaccination rates. So let's talk about that, Michael, because I'm concerned. I'm vaccinated, and then the newest thing that I've been hearing is that even though you are vaccinated, you could possibly get it. But the good thing is if I do get it, pray to God I don't get it, but if I do get it, that I probably would have a better chance of, getting through it, and it won't be so severe. I know your wife, she knows a lot about coronavirus. What is discussion on this here?
The main thing is that, like any other virus, even the influenza virus, it's always mutating. And this latest menace is this, what's called the Delta variant.
Yes.
And I saw a grimly funny meme, and it said that whatever doesn't kill you mutates and tries to kill you again.
Okay.
And that's reality. But what they say is that this Delta variant, even though it's much more contagious, they say, than the original version, and more deadly, it is still mostly dangerous to the people who have not been vaccinated. People who've been vaccinated, they have been getting it, but they have not been hospitalized. Their illness has been much more severe. So the underlying big story is still that people have to get vaccinated.
Right. That's just disturbing to me, because I have family members. Oh, I'm not going to take that shot. I don't know what's in that thing. Well, you don't know what's in the medicine they're going to give you when you get coronavirus either, do you? You don't know what they put in your food back there behind the counter when you go to a restaurant. A lot of things you don't know. But the science says this. It says to take the vaccination to lessen your chances of dying and to lessen your chances of being profoundly sick with lifelong complications. So I don't know, Michael. I don't know how we can convince people to go get vaccinated so that we can at least kind of squash it down.
Yeah, I heard somebody say that, there are people who will buy a hot dog from a hot dog stand in New York City and then complain, but wait, we don't know what's in this vaccine.
Right.
I mean, is there any medicine that you know what's in it?
And no, you don't, because when you get the flu shot, what is that? They said it's like chicken something they put in it, something with chicken eggs or
It
something.
does have to do with eggs,
Right.
with most of the things. My daughters are allergic to eggs,
Right.
and so they have not been able to get the traditional flu vaccine each year.
Right. So we don't know. I mean,
But we do know the danger of this virus. That's what we do know.
Right.
And, the trouble is, we're talking about education, but another problem is miseducation,
Right.
misinformation. There's so much out there, and that has been the bane of the internet. When it was first came out, this thing of Google, you realize what a cornucopia of information, so much information at our fingertips like nothing mankind has ever had before.
Right.
But it's equally a cornucopia of misinformation, and that is the problem.
Exactly. So I listen to the true sources. I usually go, if I want to know something about coronavirus, I'll go to CDC. I'll listen to Dr. Fauci. I'll even go to Johns Hopkins University's website and read up about coronavirus and what they're saying, because usually they're pretty much on the money for me, and I just try to be careful and follow those guidelines, because it is all about educating yourself and being educated and weighing the benefits over the risks.
And what's so distressing too is how certain things become politicized or political.
Right.
And a couple of years ago, the concept of vaccines was not controversial. There were a few people on the fringe, and they weren't necessarily on the right-wing fringe. If anything, they were more on the left-wing fringe of people who didn't believe in vaccines. But a vaccine was not considered political.
Right.
But now, along with global warming and these other issues like that, they've somehow become mired in political philosophy.
Exactly.
And there are people who are insisting it's my right
Right.
not to get vaccinated, and they're
True,
just
it is
dying
your-
like flies.
Right. True, it is your right to not get vaccinated, but if you don't get vaccinated, then you need to stay away from everybody else,
Yeah.
because I don't want to be around someone who's not vaccinated or refuses to wear their mask, and then they're breathing, coughing, and talking in my space, and I catch coronavirus. I don't want to deal with that. Just don't want to deal with that. And I just tell people to just be wise, do your homework, do the benefits over the risk. Is it going to help you? And I understand that some people, they take certain medications that it may not be as effective, but still, if you take it, then if you catch it, I don't think that the illness will be so damaging to you, because you'll at least have a little defense against it, because you've got that vaccine in you. I mean, that's just my take on it. I'm not CDC or anything, but that's just my take on it. I'd rather take the shot and take my chances than not take the shot and take my chances and die. So, anyway, speaking of education, our beloved Dora Evans speaks about Christian education, and then, get vaccinated so that when you come to church, people, you are not exposed to the coronavirus variants that can greatly affect your health and possibly cost you your life and the lives of others around you. So again, we're stressing this vaccination. Also, speaking of school, in Greenville and Spartanburg counties, within the next 2 weeks, we're going to be gearing up for our kids to go back to school. So we got to be prepared to protect your kids and yourselves from the virus again, because I feel that mask mandate is about to be reinstated, since they're talking about the variants and the rise of people being hospitalized because they are catching the virus. So be careful with yourselves and your family's health during this season of coronavirus. Hopefully we'll get a wrangle on it. Maybe people will eventually go get vaccinated, or whatever it's going to take for us to get this behind us. So, Michael, what you got to say on those final things there?
Well, just in terms of education, I'm really looking forward to, shortly we're going to have on the air a elementary school classmate of mine, Larry Strauss, who has written extensively about education in op-ed columns for U.S. USA Today.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had some very interesting insights, and I'm really looking forward to have a little back to school discussion with
some
him.
education. There you go. Always good to have that knowledge from others. I just love to hear other people's perspective on things, and that increases my knowledge too when I hear other people's stories. All right, so we are actually getting down to the final hour here, Michael. We only have about 10 more minutes left or so.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and just mention stuff you've already heard before we leave out today. And first of all, I want to thank all of our guests for being on the show today. We have the spoken word artist and rapper and educator Doub Dupree on our show today, and we have Miss Dora Evans from the Allen Temple Christian Education. I want to thank both of them for being a part of the show today. Thank you so much, and we wish you continued success. And finally, if you are listening to us and are not a part of Allen Temple A.M.E. Church and would like to join or visit us, please go to our website, which is allentempleamechurch.org, for more information and for more information about the times and times of service during the virtual or in-person church. And we also have virtual Bible study every Wednesday at noon and 6:30 p.m. So check the church website or check the email bulletins for details if you receive our emails. And since we are at the final part of the show today, again, we thank Doub Dupree and Dora Evans. And finally, if you are listening and you want to miss part of the program today, you can always go back to our website and download it and listen to it yourself entirely. Or if you had to take a break or whatever and you missed some of it, you can re-download it and listen to the show today, and that includes the church's show today as well. So, Michael, anything before we go out?
No, just a great job, Roz, as usual. I think it was
Same to
a wonderful
you, Michael.
show. Yeah.
Same to you. Again, I'm Rosie D, along with Michael Forsyth. We are so happy that we could be of service through this broadcast. So let's never ever give up. Keep the faith. And again, Rosie D and Michael Forsyth closing out. Stay healthy, stay encouraged, and have a blessed week.